Hello and welcome to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. My view of humanity is a whole new tea. And before we start this episode, just know that I'm not a lawyer. This isn't legal advice whatsoever. This is just from my experience, things that I have gone through, and the hardships, especially trying to get a job with a disability. Just some things that I have learned. But if you don't want to follow it, you don't have to. Baby, you do what you do. It's like, and I just hope that, especially if you're graduating now, that you're able to reach your career goals and get that job that you have been working so hard to get. But again, you don't have to follow these. It's just real life questions and situations that I have been put through that I feel like other people might be able to, you know, learn from. Okay, well, since I know people are going to be graduating and you're going to be applying and looking for jobs, and I'm going to be back doing that threaded nightmare of and if you've been listening to my stories, yay for you. If you haven't, you have a lot to catch up on. A lot to catch up on. But this one is going to be themed for my graduates and those who've been laid off, especially those who've been laid off in the government and those who have a disability. Yeah. We are part of DEI, and a lot of companies already don't want to hire us. So them removing DEI gives them more power on how not to hire us. Yeah, catch up. I've already told a lot of stories. But okay, I am going to be kind of going through a few questions that, if you have a disability, they are basically illegal to ask this, or they're not supposed to ask this. So yeah, if not illegal, they know they're stepping into the don't you dare, and how can you actually have these words coming out of your mouth in that sequence kind of thing. Yeah, and I've had all of these questions asked to me so many times, and I'm probably going to have more episodes covering more idiotic, stupid, illegal questions. So let's get started. Let's just get. Oh, and yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And I know everyone's not gonna agree with me. Most MAGAs are gonna call me woke, and yeah, I'm woke, baby. Oh yeah, I'm all the way awake, aware of the injustices and the inequality and unfairness of many of the different portions of society. Being black, being female, having a disability, I have seen things in a lens that many of the privileged will never understand, and many of those same people have the nerve to flip it and gaslight, kind of like my last long term relationship, that no good Mr. No Heart. But anyway, congratulations if you graduated. If you graduated years ago, hey, congratulations. I never went to any of my college graduations, but that'll be another gray sheep episode, because yeah, it's toxic. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so we're just gonna start. So the first one, how long have you had said condition? Don't answer that. You can maybe reverse it and ask them, oh, why do you need to know? Why are you curious? Why are you wondering? Why is it any of your business? Because it's none of their business. And with the job, it's none of their business. What is on the resume, your qualifications. And oh, this is one reason why I love the K drama. It's like the extraordinary lawyer Woo Young Woo, because I mean, she was brave enough to put on her resume that she's on the spectrum. She didn't have to do that, but she did that. Do you have to? Heck no, especially not in America. Don't do that in America, because It's like HR people, they take like about 30 seconds to a minute and a half to browse through your resume. And a lot of them are hunting down reasons not to hire you. Even with your name, like, because I have a unique name. And for when I first graduated, I kept applying for jobs and I was not getting any callbacks. It wasn't until I had to shorten my name because either that or I would get called and then they would say the wrong name. And then I'm like, that's not my name. And then they tell me I misspelled my name. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And even getting told that I would have gotten the job offer if I knew how to spell my name. So I've already talked about that in a couple previous episodes. But yeah, HR people, they glance over your resume real quick. And if they can find a reason to eliminate you from the options, they will do it in less than a heartbeat. If they have a heart, because, yeah, you know. And so, with how long have you had said condition, be very careful with that. Or don't, I wouldn't, I, over the years, because at first I thought, because I wasn't diagnosed, and you're talking to someone that wasn't diagnosed, but yeah, the doctors, I had such terrible, idiotic, terrible, heartless doctors where my condition was getting bad and getting very bad to the point where my walking was more painful, more apparently different. So I kept getting asked this question. I'm like, no, nothing's wrong. And, but yeah, I have a disability. I was born with my disability. I just had very poorly trained, awful, terrible, heartless doctors. Yeah. So, for those, especially who have, a said condition that's diagnosed, don't answer that. It's like maybe in another episode, I will create a list of more of a list of answers that can let them know, yes, I'm not supposed to answer this. And oh, some of you might even ask me, how do I know this? Yeah, even though it's like I've mentioned my degrees in previous episodes, a lot of, because yeah, some people, especially in the dating world, a lot of men hate the fact that a black woman with a disability has degrees and certifications, and both are plural. Yes, they are. I worked hard for them. I worked hard for them. And getting a job, I have to be, especially being black female with a disability, I have to be 10, 20, 50 times better. And I have to prove myself even more. So, yeah. But one of my minors is in business. And then I have my MBA as well, or Master's in Business Administration. And I studied internet marketing. But yeah, you gotta study up in, books and chapters on HR. And let's just say that is one of my top questions that I get. So that is why that's the first one I'm talking about. And then with your disability and how you finish school. Yeah, like I said, my disability was a lot more apparent the like after I graduated. And so walking into job interviews, sometimes in absolute pain, and it's like sometimes I still have that smile, but they would still kind of notice something's wrong with her. And it's like, I wonder, how did she finish school? It's none of their business. They can ask for my transcripts, and they can call the school, they can call my references, but I finished. As long as you finished, you finished. They don't need to know how you finished. You finished. As long as you, like, you turned in all the work, you busted your tush off, you did your thing, none of their business. And some of the times, the business owners don't even have a degree. So it's like, sometimes, like, if I was real petty, yeah, if I was real petty, because I'm just like, well, at least I finished mine and have a big, juicy, petty smile because, again, it's like sometimes people are able to start their business because of privilege or their parents' privilege or money or whatever. And some people, like Marjorie Taylor, it's like she got her business from her parents, and our current president, the orange guy, he got his business from his parents. He didn't have to work for it. It was given. So yeah, sometimes when these people are interviewing you, asking questions, judging you, and you know you finished and you know how hard you worked, yeah, sometimes they're asking through their privilege and they don't understand how hard you work. They don't understand the pressure and the things that you've had to go through. So just know, you don't, just let them know you finished. That's all that matters, is that you are done. And again, congratulations, because I honestly understand. Okay, this one's kind of a tricky one because what assistance would you need? And yes, some of us may need assistance. Some of us may even need to ask if it can be a split schedule of work at home some days and work in person others. Some may need special equipment or apps or contraptions for the laptop or cell phone. So there may be things, but maybe just say that you'll take it one day at a time, or that you will look into it or something, because this question might be, mm, it might be a trap. This question could be a trap, honestly, because I've had job interviews where people are like, we don't even have an elevator. How would you get up here? But this isn't before I couldn't walk anymore. This isn't before my surgery. I could still walk. It was painful, and I wasn't diagnosed either. So the way they talked to me, and even I applied at a school one time, and when they saw my resume, they were so impressed. They were so excited. They couldn't wait to meet me. But then when they saw me, at this point, I had to start using a cane or a walker. I forgot which one. I think it was right when I started using the walker. And basically, they told me that they couldn't give me a position, even though they were saying I was the most qualified, and how creative I was and how extraordinary my qualifications were. But at the end of the day, they could not give me a position. So be careful with that. And I've even had jobs, even while doing promotional modeling. I wasn't diagnosed, so I don't know. It's like, I guess for those who are undiagnosed, but there is something that's off or different or something confusing or you can't understand, that question is kind of alarming, because it's just like, okay, what are you going to offer for something that I don't know if I do or don't know what's going on with my own body and things. So just know, what assistance would you need? Could be a trap. Oh, and also the college, that was clearly a mistake, because, yeah, I taught at a university for a semester, and I filled on the paperwork, I filled out and said that I am African American, that I have a disability. I put this on all the paperwork. And I got the call back saying how great my resume is, and I had the virtual interview. But I let them know that I all of my classes need to be on the first story, that I have a disability. And yeah, they didn't care. They're like, "Oh no, you're so qualified. We don't care." But the first day the dean saw me, the very first day of the semester, he saw me walking down the hall, and then he ran up to me and he just kept looking up me up and down. And it took him literally about 30 seconds before he could even choke up a hi or hello. And I already knew that was a red flag, but he kept looking at the walker. And for the rest of the semester, he ignored me. For the entire rest of the semester, he ignored me and he did not want me back. And even though at the end of the semester, I kept having students say, "Wow, it's like I've never had lessons taught like this. You make it fun, you make it creative, and or I didn't understand why you did this, but it's it connects with other things. Like some students didn't get why I did my lessons, which it kind of shows a lack of creativity or how they're willing to think out the box. But I had some students where it was connecting, and even some students that were using what I was learning for their other business classes. So that was great and amazing. But, anyways, if they ask what assistance would you need, maybe like again I'm gonna do another episode probably with each different, is like probably like a 10 to 15 minute episode on each one. But either it's like if you're able to get the assistance or get the equipment through Medicaid, but Medicaid mostly only covers things that are at home. And this is why I've also talked about this in another. Okay, because here's the thing, a lot of people don't know how a lot of insurance, especially Medicaid, works. If you have a disability and you need resources in order to work a job, you're more than likely going to have to go to nonprofits and wait in the long lines and fill out paperwork and inspections and all different types of things, because a lot of the insurance, unless maybe you're on the top tier of health insurance, they won't get you stuff for the job. Usually the job will get those items because it is in need for you in order to do the work. But now with DEI, they don't have to care if they hire you or not. And that's going to save them money if they don't hire you, because they're going to have to, instead of just training and or instead of just getting acclimated into the business, they would have to spend more money to get certain items in order for you to do the same job as someone else. And or say that they're going to take a portion out of your pay, which in my opinion is garbage, because none of us asked to have a disability. And we're just trying to do the same job as everybody else. But yeah, a lot of the Medicaid places or a lot of the health insurance, especially Medicaid, yeah, if it's outside of home, they don't care. And this kind of makes me even think about when a lot of people, when they see me out in public, or even when I'm teaching at the community college and or whatever else I'm doing, people come up to me and asking me why am I out in public, or why am I working. I've had people come up to me, "Oh my gosh, if I were you, I would just stay home and take from the government. You're so lucky that you would be able to do that." And sometimes these are the college students I'm teaching. College students, like Generation Z, those are the people saying this mess. It's pretty disgusting and despicable and awful and terrible. Yeah. But then at the same time, some of them are conservative too. And I think it's funny and crazy how a lot of the times it's the conservatives telling me that if they had a disability, how hard they would be using the system. Yeah, it's not the liberals, it's the conservatives. Yeah, it's real. Because even with my ex's mom, she was just like, "Well, I see how you walk, so just just get things from the government." She was just like, "Why work? Quit your job." Because, and it's really crazy. It's like I think She was so jealous of everything I've accomplished. She was literally telling me to just quit my job and get stuff from the government because I think she was tired of my ex boyfriend telling her of what else I was working on, of what else I've accomplished, and what else I'm pursuing and doing. But yeah, most times it is the conservative right. Ugh. But don't just look at people with disabilities and think they don't want to work. They don't want anything from, or they don't want to do anything on their own. They want anything and everything handed to them or us because that's not the case. If you knew the headache a lot of these systems are, if you knew, like, even like looking up studies for like your type of disability, and especially having a rare disability, there's really not going to be any test. And you hope, you wish, and well, some people might not, I don't know, but it might, I do, because I would hope maybe there would be a better medication or something that would be able to help me, like, just work almost any and every job without a care, without any type of need or whatever. But am I there? No, I'm not. And now our government is taking away so many scientific studies, and it's just, I don't, it's pretty appalling because just think, if we kept on with some of the studies, how that could especially help those with disabilities, and those with disabilities to a point where maybe down the line, maybe not this year or this decade, but maybe not the next decade, but maybe further on, people with all different types of disabilities would either have the technology or the type of resources where they would be able to work independently on their own, and then it's not a hardship for the business or insurance. Maybe. I don't know. You don't know? I don't know. And not just those crappy minimum wage jobs. Because if you don't know, now you're going to know that legally, companies can still pay people with disabilities below the minimum wage. If you didn't know, that was yeah. I learned this, I think, right before my surgery. Yeah, because I was doing some research online. I ran into this one video and I was just like, no, that can't be true. Not America. And I was like, nope, it's America. And then I looked up, I was like, yep, conservative. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, anyway, when looking for a job, also, like when they try to negotiate salaries and everything, don't let them lowball you, especially if you have a disability. Okay? You are of the same value as anybody else. And a lot of these people want to say all lives matter. Okay, well, yeah, my life matters too, so does my wallet and my bank account. Because it's like a lot of people, or some people with disabilities, are going to need to go to physical therapy after work. When we get home, we're going to have to take some medication, or so many different types of medical needs we're going to have to take care of. Most people, when they get off work, they can do whatever they want. And not all people with disabilities, some that are able to, not be visible with it, they can carry on with their day as normal. But I guess I'm more talking about the physical disability community. Like, like a lot of us, yeah, we have to take care of things that most others don't even have to think about. Or to a lot of people, it's just another Monday, another, like, 2 or 3 o'clock or whatever, another 5 or 6 o'clock. and then get ready for bed or whatever. But okay, back to the subject. Back to the subject. Okay, so the last one I am going to cover in this episode, well, kind of two, but yeah. Is it permanent? And you can ask them just right off, like, why does it matter? Why does it matter? It's like, or you can even ask, what part of the job position are you asking this question about? What is it pertaining? Like, why do you need to know? And, or, well, and what is your disability called? Yeah, if you answer this one, you're giving them power to be able to look it up. And I mean, okay, even current events time. Remember COVID? And people wouldn't even answer the question on if they had COVID, if they got COVID, or if they got vaccinated. No, if they don't have to answer that question, you don't have to answer that. No. And I mean, also with my HR class, you don't have to answer that question. It is none of their business. None of their business what you're diagnosed with. Okay? And I just know, even I have a friend, well, I had a friend who was diagnosed with cancer. And this was early on, and they did like, but you don't have to mention it. You I mean, down the line, or like, especially have sick days and things like that, you could sit down and communicate and things. So it's like, some people are going to call it lying, but at the same, especially if you take away DEI, and if you make it even harder for people with disabilities, cancers, and like things, people who are sick work, but then they want to work, like, but then you say that you want us to work and we're trying to work, but then you're making it harder for us to be able to work. Sometimes I'm just like, my name is Joe and I don't know. You don't have to tell them. By law, you don't have to tell them. So, but okay, at the end of the day though, if you choose to answer this, and oh yeah, this isn't a legal thing. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. Okay. This is just from my experience and from what I've studied and things. Because I know, like, a lot of HR staff, sometimes they're not going to go by the law. And sometimes they're going to ask you questions that they're not supposed to ask. So, for your safety, I just want to help you out, because again, it's already hard enough. If you have a disability, we already have to go through so much. We already have to be better than so many of the other candidates. So, this isn't legal. This is just kind of, you know, some advice on how to at least help you try to make it to the next stage in order to try to get that job. But if you trust that person to answer any of these questions, then, you know, it, do you, boo. Thank you so much for listening to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. I am a woman, I am of color, and I am handicapable. But most importantly, I am human, and you're human too.